welcome to Vision Recovery. If nothing else, congratulations on making it tonight. I know that Fridays are a good night to do a lot of other stuff, so we're glad that you're here with us. In case you're used to coming, my husband is not here. He is out of town this week, so Nate and Dylan are in Nashville, and if you know Nate, you're probably wondering why, because he doesn't like country music. But he is at a hip-hop festival. So they're at a music festival. It's actually a Christian group, Indie Tribe and Lecrae and D1 and some others. And the idea is to have a music festival experience without all the negative side effects and to hopefully reach the youth. So be praying for them and the young people that are there, that their lives will be changed this weekend. Pray that Nate and Dylan are safe. And before we start on our songs this evening, I wanted to share why I picked these songs. So this isn't my whole testimony, it's just kind of a condensed version of a time in my life where music was kind of the thing that got me through. In 2022 and 2023, were some of the darkest years of my life. I was in the throes of alcoholism, deep in it, probably leading up to the pinnacle. My husband had told me, you're an alcoholic, and I was like, mind your beeswax, and so I was in denial deep. Later in that year, I did admit to him in October. Finally, I said, you're right, I have a problem. I'm an alcoholic. And just saying that was hard because I never wanted to admit it. Because once I admitted it, I had to deal with it. And I didn't want to deal with it. I tried to get sober. That worked for a couple months, and then I convinced myself I did it. So now I can do whatever I want, I'm fine. So I tried and I failed. And then in 2023, it really got to the peak. I tried and failed big time, fell flat on my face. Everything in my personal life, but my marriage was falling apart because he was getting tired of the excuses. He was getting tired of, the over and over and over again. I'm fine. So personally, my life was kind of a train wreck. On top of that, my job was going downhill. And to that point in my life, I had made my career a huge, idol. I was a honor roll student in high school. I got into NC State. I was a biochem major. I wanted to be a pharmacist because I went on a mission trip, and that's what I decided I wanted to do, is to help people in these countries that don't have medication. I wanted to go down there and do all this stuff. That's what I wanted to do with my life. I failed out of my first semester of college, and I was really bad at bio and chem, which is tough when that's your major. I then found out I was pregnant, same first semester. So I was a teen mom. My career was not happening. My education, I went and got an associate's degree, so I had something. And so my career had always been important to me because I didn't go the path I wanted to get where I wanted to be. So I felt like I had to scratch and claw and fight to get there. And so that's what I had done. For 10 years since college, I've been at the same company. I love my job. And in 2022, we had our president retired. We had a new leader come in. This person, I had worked myself up from literally the mailroom to the boardroom. I reported directly to the president of the company. It's not like IBM. They didn't have any jets or anything. But I had finally earned the respect of my peers. I liked my work. I saw a future at this company. And this new leadership came in, and for whatever reason, he did not find me delightful. I can't explain why. This person didn't trust me. He didn't respect me. He cut me out. He pushed me out. And looking back, that's really what it was. He was trying to push me out, and it worked. But at the time, going through that, it's like every day I had to drive an hour to Raleigh, from Selma. And so I'm sitting in traffic, I'm miserable. Remember, I'm fighting my personal demons with alcohol at home. My job, what I had put my value in for so long, is just a train wreck, going downhill every day. And then in 2023, I finally made the decision to actually surrender my sobriety to God and quit trying to do it by myself. And that's when I actually got sober, 2.5 years ago almost. So that's a victory. But then you have to deal with life sober. And that's where the work comes in. It's one thing to stop the habit or stop the behavior or get past the grief or trauma, right? It's another thing to learn how to live after that. So I'm newly sober, and all of a sudden my 11-year-old son is sick. And we didn't know what was wrong. We were on vacation, and his eyes turned red, the white of his eyes, not bloodshot, like pink eye, like solid red, the color of these chairs in here. It was kind of freaky looking. He was sore, he could barely walk, he walked like old grandpa. So I took him to the urgent care. I thought maybe he needed some, I don't know, eye drops. And they said, you probably need to go to your pediatrician. So I made an appointment at the pediatrician. And they were in the room with us for about 5 minutes. And she said, so what I'm going to have you do is just head back out. We're going to get you checked out. And I want you to just head over to Wake Med, to the urgent emergency room. They're going to be waiting for you. And so we spent the next week there in the hospital trying to figure out what was wrong. And we eliminated a lot of things, but they could never figure exactly what it was out, so they sent us home. He'd seen eye doctors, he'd seen every test they can run, every scan they can do, everything. It was autoimmune is the direction they were going. And so we knew he wasn't in imminent danger, like you're scared at first. So they eventually found out it was arthritis. Juvenile arthritis, idiopathic, they don't know where it came from. But we were finally, at the end of that year, able to get him on some medication. So during those times, that's all in 22, 23, I'm dealing with my personal stuff at home, facing my alcoholism. My work is just going down the drain. Everything I had worked for is just being taken away from me, quite literally. And then my son is sick, and you're helpless, and that's the worst feeling as a parent. And during these times, when I was driving to work, all the way up 40 to Raleigh, downtown, all that, sometimes all I had in me, I couldn't pray. I was too empty. I didn't know what to say. It was like everything was wrong. So what do you say? Help? So I would put on this music because it's important what comes in our ears. And I was never one who only listened to Christian music. I love all kinds of music. From bluegrass to hip hop. I liked it all. And, but I would just put these songs on in the car, and I would scream, cry in traffic. So I'm sure that if you passed me on 40, you were probably like, oh, she's having a breakdown. But I would sing the song, The Eye of the Storm. I don't even know if that's the name of the song, but I think it is. In the middle of the storm, let's see. Well, we're going to sing it, but it says, in the eye of the storm, you remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. I would also sing sometimes on my lunch break, or if things got crazy throughout the day, I'd go out to my car in the parking lot at my office, and I would just lean my seat back, and I would sing the next song that we're going to sing, which is Lord, I Need You. And it's I need you every hour, I need you. Because sometimes all I could do was hour by hour. And that's for sobriety, that's for my kid, that's for my job, every aspect of life. Sometimes it was an hour by hour fight. And the good news is, all of these difficult things, I am sober. I've stayed sober for 2.5 years now. I got a job that I wasn't even looking for that was better than I could have ever imagined. That's a whole nother story of a miracle in itself. And my son, like I said, they've stabilized him. He's fine. He hasn't had any more flare-up since then. Medication is working. So the next song is one of my favorites, Amazing Grace, My Chains Are Gone. And so as we sing these songs, I know it's just music, but if you don't know the words, they're going to be on the screen, I think. They're going to be on the screen. But just keep these things in mind. It doesn't really matter if you sing, if you sit, if you stand, if you come up here. Worship is just about time with God. Like in the car when I was such a mess those days, that was all it was. It didn't sound good. It didn't look good. But that's all I had to give. So whatever you have tonight, bring it to Him, lay it down. There's another song that we're not going to sing, but I wanted to read you this. What a friend we have in Jesus. And it says, oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. So when I had all of those things going on, I was carrying the weight of my job. I was carrying the weight of my son being sick. I was trying to do sobriety on my own for a lot of that time. And when I finally gave it to God and surrendered it, that's when change happened. And that peace is available. That peace is available. You don't have to carry that alone. He's always with you. So as we worship, just keep those things in mind. And we'll get started. My name is Brittany. My husband Nate is not here, as I said earlier. He's usually up here and not me. But tonight we're going to talk about step 8, which is the power of ownership. And if you've ever done AA or NA, they have a 12-step program. And it's basically the same, but a little bit different. So I'm going to use my book here. A Vision Recovery, we use the Recovery Alive handbook for our 12-step program. But the AA, the original 12 steps, are what's published. Step 8 is make a list, or actually made a list, of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Okay? Now in Recovery Alive, we take those same 12 steps and we kind of root them in the Bible. As someone once told me, those other things are great, those other programs are great, but they miss the depth that Jesus provides. So it says in step 8 for this recovery program here, we made amends. So that's already different. We're not willing to make amends, we made them. We made amends to all persons we had harmed, unless to do so would injure them or others. Of course, there's situations where maybe you're not a safe person, maybe you're a trigger, maybe there's someone that it's no longer appropriate to address certain issues that have happened in the past. So I'm going to use that as a grain of salt going forward. But this requires work. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary, literal definition of what it means to make amends, it says to do something to correct a mistake, or to do something to correct a bad situation that you have caused. So again, it takes action. And this is not in the book, this is a Brittanyism. If you don't go through ownership, if you don't accept ownership, you cannot make amends. Because until you're willing to own your role without excuse, until you're willing to make amends, until you're willing to accept ownership fully, you can't make amends. Because you can't be sorry if you haven't admitted to yourself that you're doing it. And that starts internally. The ownership starts internally. In the book it says, to offer amends means we must walk out, I'm sorry, to the fullest extent. Again, you have to do something. We must own what we did. This means admitting without excuse that we did wrong. This means empathizing verbally with the one we hurt. We ask for forgiveness as an admission of guilt. not because we want them to forgive us and let us off the hook. We ask for forgiveness because forgiveness is for the forgiver. You know, if I'm upset with my husband because he said something and he was mean to me. If I'm upset with him, he can be sorry, but until I forgive him, I'm letting that affect me. So when we go to someone and ask or say, I hope you can forgive me, it's not for us to receive forgiveness. It's for them to no longer be tied to what we did and be unforgiving and have that in them. So we ask for forgiveness as an admission of our guilt. And then we have to give it freely. The book actually says if you're not willing to give it freely without conditions, then don't do it because you're not ready. You also have to think, what if they don't want to talk to me? What if they slam the door in my face? What if they hear everything I say, I pour my heart out? You have to be willing to accept that because you can't control someone else. The Bible verse that the Recovery Live program puts here with this step, I'm going to read it. Sorry, I'm one-handed. It's from Romans 12:18, and it says, I'll read the step first. We made amends to all persons we had harmed, unless to do so would injure them or others. So we're taking ourselves out of the equation. My feelings about it don't matter. It's about them, right? And the Bible verse that goes with that is Romans 12:18. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. So let's reword that. Our step says make amends to all persons we harmed. The Bible says live at peace with everyone. We see how those walk hand in hand. And the step says, unless to do so would injure them or others. And the Bible says, if it is possible, as much as it depends on you. So there's times when I can try to make peace and I'm rejected. There's times when I try to make peace and somebody cusses me up one side and down the other. There's times where I might offer an apology and amends and someone says, I never want to talk to you again. I'll never forgive you. How could you even ask me that? You know. So you have to go into this step. This is, by the way, I should mention, ironically, my least favorite step, for obvious reasons. And I just think it's funny that this is the one out of all the year. I couldn't tell you the last time that Nate went anywhere without me, like other than work, like out of town, and it was this one. So I think God just has a sense of humor. But anyway, this is not a pleasant step for us, right, in recovery. This is the most difficult because there's just no excuse. So I'm gonna put a scenario together, and I'm gonna go through what I just said. Okay, one of my regrets with one of the things I'm working through, I should say, I guess, is when I was in alcoholism, and I talked to some of the people about this in our people group. I was not a good mom. Now, I was at home, I wasn't at the bar on a 3-day bender, okay, but I was home, but I wasn't present. I was not making my kids loving snacks and putting puzzles together and doing crafts and going to the pumpkin patch. I just wanted to get through the day so they would go to bed so I could go about my night and relax. I just wanted to relax. I've been at work all day, I just want to relax. And that, to me, meant sit on the couch, drink, and watch, Jersey Shore. Okay, so it's not like I was mean to them, but I was not investing in them. I was certainly not an example of Christ to them. So if I was going to go through these steps, we'll just say with my son, Dylan, I have to admit, without excuse, what I did wrong. So I'd have to go, Dylan, I am so sorry that, when you were younger, there were so many times when I didn't invest time with you. I might not remember a play you were in, or, I wish I had done more, and I'm just so sorry for that. Period. And then you have to empathize verbally with the one you hurt. And this is, you have to do the best you can. Sometimes we know how we hurt someone, and sometimes you don't. But you have to think about it. So I could then say, Dylan, I'm sure that made you feel hurt. There were probably times when you wondered why I wasn't there, and I'm so sorry for that pain I caused you. Or if I made you feel confused or unloved. Again, we ask for forgiveness as an admission of guilt. And we do this with no conditions. So I'd say, son, I love you. I've changed from that. And I hope that you can forgive me for my shortcomings. Maybe not now, but someday when you're old enough to understand it better. And I just have to be able to sit with that. That's just an example, but that's kind of what it looks like. The next part of making amends is offering restitution, which is, I believe the book actually says, if you offer amends without change, I want to read it so I don't say it wrong. Okay. It says, a sorry, or making amends, without change is manipulation. So again, this is not a fun step for us. This isn't like, ooh, victory, This is more of this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you have to just face the ugly truth. Beyond just, oh, I was addicted, or oh, I was drinking, or oh, I was whatever. You have to, at that point, deal with it, which is the reason I didn't want to admit it in the first place. Okay. So when we go back to this verse in Romans, and we're talking about unconditional, freely given, right, amends, owning it. We've worked through admitting what we did to ourselves, owning it, sitting with it, figuring out who we need to make amends with, or offer amends to is probably the better way to say it. We go through those steps like I just demonstrated, where you go through those things and offer your amends. You have to sit with whatever they give you back. It may be restoration, or it may be go away. But is there a way I can make it better? Is there anything you need from me? And again, this is all very subjective to the situation, so keep that in mind. But when we're talking about unconditional, I can't help but think about unconditional love in the Bible. And we're supposed to live at peace with people. That's what it says in Romans. So, ironically, this is one of my favorite passages in the Bible. Romans 12, 9 through 21. So this verse is in the middle of it. And the section is called Love. That's the name. That's the little title over the section in the Bible. And it talks about what love is. And this word for love in Greek is agape. And agape, I'm sure you've heard before, is unconditional, sacrificial love. That's like when God says God so loved the world, he literally loved us so much, he gave us his son as a sacrifice. And he did all that knowing he had to do that because we were flawed. So it's unconditional, sacrificial love. So when it says here, it says this, I'm going to read it. Love, and again, think unconditional. This isn't, love you like a sister, right? Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction. It's not fun. Faithful in prayer. That goes back to what we were talking about before worship. We don't have to carry all that stuff on our backs if we're faithful in prayer. Share with God's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. And then he kind of cranks it up a notch. He says, bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. He cranks it up a little more. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everybody. And I just want to take a moment to explain that. In today's world, everyone has their own truth, right? So you cannot do what's right in the eyes of everyone, even if you wanted to. And what is right is always the Bible. So if it isn't the Bible, then it ain't right. So when it says that, what that means is, our job is not conviction. We don't convict people about this. You stand on this word. You do what is right based on the Bible, and he'll deal with other people. You know, you don't need to then go and, there's some situations where some pastors or leaders in the church or whatever, they won't go order a beer with their steak at a restaurant because they don't want, not because they think it's a sin, but because they don't want to set an example, right? That they don't want to cause someone else to stumble. That's what that's talking about. It's saying, you follow this word and I'll take care of the rest. Don't be a stumbling block for someone else. Then here's our main verse. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, for it is written, it is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord. And on the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Don't feed him and give him a drink to dump burning coals on his head. But what God is saying is, you do right. You love people. And I will take care of the conviction, right? And then I love the way this section ends, this chapter ends. It says, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. And so this, even though this isn't directly related to ownership and amends, once you start taking ownership of what you've done in your recovery process, that applies to like the rest of your life. You know, if you're a follower of Jesus, if you've decided that you want to follow him, if you call yourself a Christian, right, that's a name that we make up, that we have for ourselves, but if you follow God, if you believe this is his word, this is the guide for your life, then basically for the rest of your life, you're living out a refinement process where you're constantly having to take ownership, you're constantly seeking him, seeking what he would have you to do, and that's called sanctification. We're never going to reach perfection. We were born flawed, it's too late. But for the rest of your life, if you walk with him and listen to him and watch how he does it, then you're growing closer to him as you go, and then you'll spend eternity with him in heaven. Not because of us, but because of his son. So today, in the world, things are insane. What's right is wrong, what's wrong is right. I'm not going to get political, but in general, politics, there were people that I grew up with in church, that led choir and did all this, that I had to block on socials during the election. People that I respected, because they were being so nasty about politics. If you're hateful, that's directly contradicting the Bible. What I just read, that is it. And I don't care if you're left, right, middle, Green Party, whatever you are, if you're right in Kanye, you're supposed to love people. The next chapter goes on and talks about love, and it says, out of all these rules that we have, the Old Testament is full of 636 laws or something like that. Crazy stuff. Full of laws. But it says, right here in Romans 13, chapter 13, verses 9 and 10. It's out of all of these commandments, they can be summed up in this one rule. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no harm to its neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. And again, that love is that unconditional, selfless, sacrificial love. And when you think about that, when you look at the word neighbor, I didn't write it down, but in the original text, that word neighbor doesn't mean who lives next to you. It literally means someone near you. So whether you're in the grocery store, at the gas station, at work, if you have a jerk boss, perhaps, we are called to love people. So, just to recap tonight, ownership, the power of ownership is that is the catalyst that gets us to making amends. We have to own what we've done. And it's ugly, and it's unpleasant, and it could be small or it could be huge. It could be, assault. It could be who knows what. And you have to be selfless in that if you are not a safe person for someone, if you're a trigger for them, you can't go to them. That's not what's best for them. You take yourself out of the equation and you put them first. You have to own it, then you have to act it out. You have to do something. And even once you do that in your recovery, you have to take it a step further. Where do you go from here? For the rest of your life, you have to love. You have to live at peace with people. Be hospitable. Do not be proud. Love your enemy. Love whoever's near you, whether they look funny, smell funny, whatever. And in doing all these things, you'll be doing what's most important. It isn't rules and regulations, it's people. So we're going to sing our last song as we close out tonight. And I just want to leave you with this. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying in the beginning about these things I just kind of say over and over when I don't have anything else to say and I can't think of a prayer that sounds good. That's why we read the scripture. I don't like memorizing scripture. I'm not good at it. But this is one of those things that I've learned. That it will come up. You will recall it. If you keep putting it in, somehow it'll come up. Or you'll go, let me look that up. Where was that? Thankfully we have Google, so you can find it. Psalm 27. While you're going through all these things, just remember this. If you're in a storm, if you're not in a storm, but there's always something coming, right? Just remember this. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evil men advance against me to devour my flesh, when my enemies and my foes attack me, it doesn't mean people necessarily. That could be a relapse. That could be, whatever you're dealing with. That could be grief. It could be anything. When you're surrounded, when an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then will I be confident. And it goes on from there, but I just want you to remember, we serve a great God. And there is literally nothing that you can do, that I can do, no matter what other people, if they accept our amends, if they never speak to us, if they badmouth us, whatever. No matter what, He's never going to leave us or forsake us. And if He's for you, nobody can be against you. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be afraid because He's with you. So we're going to sing this last song, and I just encourage you, if you have anything that you need to take ownership of, if you have anything, let me rephrase, if you need to make amends with maybe God, maybe you've been angry at God, if you need to make amends with a person and you haven't had the courage to do that, I have people in my life, I'm working through my process group still. I encourage you to pray about it up here, over there, wherever. And just remember, you don't have to be afraid because God is with you. And He loves you. So I will come back up after this.